Hello everyone. So this is like a Q&A session that we thought of having after like 7 sessions we already had. So I think I'll take up the questions that uh, participants have. So I think Mariam, uh, I think let's start with your questions if you have any, because
Well, I have one specific question that came up today while I was working on the scoring, but a team member is looking at it tomorrow as well. So it might be better for them to look into it. But my question is, so in the scoring to set up the template,
right,
I have table type questions.
right,
And within those, not every question is a row type. Some of them are table types, I think.
right,
That makes sense. So it's to understand how the score allocation or the weightage is shared between the table type and the row type questions so that they all score equally, if that makes sense. But if it doesn't, like I said, another team member is looking into it tomorrow.
no problem. Would you mind if I go to the CIWF template and show you that particular?
That's fine.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So what questions within the template that you would like? Can you point me to a particular question?
So in the lane hand in the inputs and practices,
Okay.
yes, that one. So in the one below, inputs and practices again.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. And then if you expand that, and see it's the purchase and beak trimming that are tables within the
Right.
group table. So there are other questions in the group level above. What percentage of eggs in your supply? There
Right.
are row types, as you just expanded. And so I want the rows and table to have the same weight.
Right.
So,
Rows and tables to have the same weight. Is it like this table and the
so the row reduced stocking density should have the same weight as purchase, if that makes sense in the final.
okay.
So
Right.
this is
So,
something that one of your team members has already looked at, this
right.
specific one, but I just
Right.
want to make sure I understand the structure so that
Sure.
I can
Sure.
apply it to the other species correctly.
Absolutely. Sure. So, as you have a brief idea, the scoring in ProBench works from like bottom to top, right? So whatever the score of child is or weightage of the child is, or whatever scores that the child question gets is kind of rolled up to the parent question, right? So now in this particular case, like that the table question, like. Uh, a table question has certain rows, okay, but then for some reasons those rows were converted to table because there was like a uh, row span. Okay, so for purchase, like in the document that we got, where we created or where the structure was provided, purchase was kind of in a row span, and then purchase was having three another rows within it, right?
Yes.
So how it works is like uh, because like according to your scoring methodology, the rows in this table and this table as a whole has this like it's within the same kind of a row
Yes.
in the actual word template. What we did was like the rows within the first table, we gave it as means divided it into the number of rows that were there in the word document. Okay, so there were, I think, 13 rows in the original word document, and all of that 13 rows were on the same in the same table. Okay, so what we initially we created 13 rows and like divided means 1 divide by 13. Okay, so that
Yes.
would give us like 0.077. Okay, so that's how we came to this 0.77. Now, like because of the row span, we divided this into, like, instead of multiple rows, we had to group uh, about 9 rows in one table and another I think 4 rows in separate tables. Okay, so still because this group has a set of means the main question has a weightage of 1, and all the child nodes should be kind of divided, means there are like 13 rows. So each of them should be having 0.077 as their weightages. Okay, and this single table has 9 rows out of it. So 9 into 0.077 comes to like 0.693. So because there were 9 rows in this particular table, so the weightage of that table went to 0.693. And there were other tables where uh, the same thing, like this was another row, so it should also have a 0.077. So that way we kind of divided it, and like it doesn't matter whether it's row or a table, but ultimately like what we wanted was the group should be weighted as 1, and whatever response that we get in this table or in this row would maximize to 0.077. Okay,
Yes.
so this would be the weightages of this table irrespective, because they are childs of this group. Okay, so this child has like ideally it should have one table, but because of the row span we had converted into multiple tables. So the total of this like 0.693 and this 4 uh, tables should be 1.
Yes,
Okay,
that was my
so
understanding. There is
yes,
another row hidden in there somewhere in between two
yeah, here,
tables, and it
yeah,
adds up to one. That was my
yeah,
understanding. I just wanted to make sure my
yes,
understanding was correct before I do, because
yeah,
I know
so
this
right.
structure comes up in the other species, so I wanted to make sure I understood this correctly
Correct.
before I do.
Correct. So there is a kind of golden rule when it comes to setting up the scores, is like any child question should be uh, kind of totaling it up to 1 if you are doing it between 0 to 1. If you are doing it between 0 to 10, then the total of the child questions or the score or weightages that you
Mhm.
give to the child questions should be totaling up to 10 or 1. Okay, so similarly what we have done is like even you go within this table, then and if I open this thing, then this all the rows together would add up to 0.693.
I
Okay,
understand.
so that's how it should be, like the whatever the weightage of the main parent table is or parent question is, the child question under it should be kind of divided accordingly. So that's kind of a golden rule if that helps going forward.
Thank you. Yes, I understand.
Sure.
And since I'm still the only one here,
Yeah,
again, this came up while your team was reviewing the scoring structure. There's
sure.
one question in the fish section that I'm not sure what the best approach is to scoring it, and if what I need is even possible
Which section?
in the fish.
Fish section. The farmed fish one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In any of the species, and salmon or trout, in any of them, all the questions that appear in them anyways. So it's again in the inputs and practice.
Okay. Okay.
And then it is
Just a second. Yeah, I'll just make it a bit bigger. Farmed fish, salmon, inputs and practice.
it might be one of the ones still in the in depth.
And
It's about the maximum transport time. What is the maximum amount of time?
maximum time that
It's this one.
this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And it has two tables.
Those are the two supply chains. So if you open one of them up.
Okay.
So here we want to know how long fish are transported for maximum. But for fish, it's a bit complicated because different transport methods have different welfare implications. So we can't just ask 12 or 24 hours and score them the same way. It depends on the transport method on how they're scored. And so what I want out of this question is for participants to select one of the options and then select the time that they are transported, the maximum time, and then give us the percent of the supply. I'm trying to explain the question, but it's not easy.
Okay. This one, right? Yeah.
So, for example, for slaughtered at pen side, because they're not transport, that one is fairly easy. It's only 0 hours. But if you open up wellboat, for example, we ask about under 12 hours, 12 to 24, I think, yeah, and
Right.
over 24. So the way I think this question should be structured, and I'm not sure if it's possible and how to score it, is each of the methods, so slaughtered at pen side, wellboat, and towing cages, and other, these should each be radio. And then when they select, the retailer selects it, then they need to select the transport time. And then tell us the percentage. But I'm not sure if this is possible.
Okay. So you mean that instead of displaying all the three means as a row, you want them to select one of them,
Yes.
and after they select them, they should see the transport time and the percentage of supply.
Yes.
And like on selecting any one of them, there should be a score attached to that. Like, does it matter like whether it's like slaughtered at pen side or wellboat? Is there a different weightages for each of those options?
So there is no different weightage for the transport method option, but then there's different weightages for the transport time. So if it's under 12, it will have a different score than 12 to 24, and over 24 will have a different score. So that's why I'm not sure if it's possible in terms of scoring and the structure of the question.
But here what I see is like the way it is set up already, it can be wrong, but like slaughtered at pen side is given the highest weightage, then wellboat is given like 0.75, and towing
Yes,
cages.
now that I think about it, yes, that is the correct way. I was wrong in saying that there are no different weightages at this level. So that's, now that I think about it, this is correct.
Okay. And when it comes to transport time, I think it is already like, if you see inside the transport time, less than like each of them has been assigned the weightages. Okay.
Yes.
So if they select 12 to 24, then they get 50%. Okay. If they select less than 12, then they get 100% when it comes to scoring. And that
Yes,
100% would go on top, and this 75% would be converted into the full 75% in a way.
yes.
Because the percentage of supply, okay, so here there is 1 and 1. So they
Well,
are,
that is
yeah,
where this current structure is wrong.
okay,
It's within the time options that they then need to tell us present, present with percent unknown, and then unknown. So the under 12 hours, for example, under that there should be a percent, the percentage options. And
okay,
so it is whatever percentages into the
okay. So,
score of the time, if that makes sense.
all
I
right.
know it's
So each of
a
these
complicated
options
question.
should be available for all of these three options. Now, based on what you select, this option should be visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, in that case, then the structure is incorrect where we'll have to put this under less than 12 hours. And then like whatever they select out of these choices, the scores would be assigned to them accordingly.
Yes. And
Right.
the so slotted at pen side wellboat towing cages would need to be radio so that you can only select one out of the 3 or 4 because we want the maximum time, so it's whatever the one that is the longest. Is that possible?
So you want this, okay. But it should be a radio, what you are saying, that the transport type should be a radio, is it? Like they can
Yes.
select either of them, like either slaughter at pen side or
Yes.
wellboat. Okay, okay, it makes sense. Okay.
And that
Yeah,
is
it is
something that,
like it's not that it's not possible, but then in that case, I don't think so. The tabular structure would make any sense. Then in that case, like because this table would have like this table would be converted into a radio question. Okay.
mhm,
And then that radio would have these three options, like these three types. And then under each of the types, there would be like the transport time. And
mhm.
then under transport time, there will be percentage of supply.
Yes, I wasn't sure.
Right.
This question is quite complicated, and I didn't know what the best structure was.
Yeah. So I think that the tabular structure won't make sense here. So in that case, we'll have to convert this whole question into a radio question. Okay. And then like radio would be having these three options. So yeah. Uh, yeah, I think you can mention that in one of the tickets, maybe. I'll definitely share this video with the team. But yeah. So this has to
Yes,
be
thank
done
you.
for all the species.
Yes,
Okay.
for this question for the species.
All right. Sure. Okay. Got it.
Thank you. I don't think I had any other questions at the moment.
Okay. No problem. Sure. So, like, as we are on the call and I'm like recording, I think I'll take up of a couple of things that are normally. So, like, Mariam, if like if you want to continue, you can. If you like, uh, do not want to, you're free to leave. But it's okay if you are there. Like, it would be good if you have more questions in what I am explaining. So, yeah. Uh, there is always a question like if the user or the managers are making changes to the templates, they are always skeptical about like if they lose any changes or like if they make a change which would kind of break something, then how can we go to the previous changes and or the previous template. So the best way, so they are always looking for a backup so that they are sure that they are not losing on anything. So the best way to take a backup of a template is by clicking on copy this template, Okay, so when you create a copy of this template, what it would do is like it would create something like this. Okay, so this can be used as a backup, so it gives along with its date. So whatever was there in that template at that point in time would be copied over to another template, and you can keep on making changes to this template. Okay, so at any point in time, if you feel that you have made some mistake and you don't know what you have made, etc., you can compare it with this template, or maybe you can attach this template with the existing survey. So that way you can create copies of the template as a backup. And then once you have finalized everything, you can use this cross icon to kind of delete all the copies that you have created. Okay, so that way I think uh, you have peace of mind that there is always a backup and you're not messing up with the live template. So that is always one of the questions that are is asked by the users. So thought to cover up in this particular thing. The similar kind of question that is frequently asked is like when users create year-on-year surveys. So if I want to have like similar functionality that I just mentioned about copying the template, can be used to create year-on-year surveys as well. So now you have like say 2022 template is already here. If I want to make something for 2023, then I can just create a copy of this and change the like I'll just do it. I'll just then delete it. So now when I go to 2022, I'll have like this one. I can go to edit and create another template, which is like 2023. uh, and then I have to, because I have changed the name, I have to click on save changes. So save changes would actually save the whole new template, and the name would be new. So in that case, like what you have done is like you have created a complete copy of 2022. You can make the necessary changes, few tweaks here and there, and you can directly start your 2023 survey. Okay, so you do not have to create that whole thing again from scratch year on year. So that's how it can be used as well. So it's a similar kind of functionality is also available when it comes to data sets. So even for the data sets, we have this copy feature. Okay, the same feature is there for feedback reports or scorecards that we create. So even there you can copy. So all these copies would copy each and every field that are there in the source data set or source feedback report, and copy it over to the new copy that we have created. Now, when we create a copy of the charts, then at that point in time, like if I sorry, copy of the feedback report. Now, this feedback report has some charts as well inside it. So, yeah, so there is a chart. So when I create a copy of this thing, it would also copy all the charts over. So you see this is a copy one, and it is also copied the charts and the complete configuration of it. So this is how you can use the copy functionality to do year on year survey and reduce your work year on year. So whatever efforts that has been taken in the first year is not necessary to replicate that same efforts in the next year if there are only few minor tweaks here and there, and your survey is ready to go. So that is one point I wanted to cover as part of, because that is kind of a bit of frequently asked question. So wanted to cover up here. So Mariam, you have any questions? Yeah, sure.
Yes, I've remembered one question that I
Sure.
had. While viewing progress to review the score of the participants, is there a way to search the table that pops up once the survey is selected? So searching by node, for example, or something, node ID, for example. rather
So
than having to scroll through to find a certain node.
sorry. So when you say like you mean view responses screen, do you like?
So in the data and analysis,
Just a moment. I'll just go to CIWF things. Yes.
and then you click view
View
progress.
progress.
And then you select one of the, if you want to view one of the companies.
Okay.
In this page, is there a way of searching this table that appears, for example, by node ID or something like that?
It is not possible by node ID, but I think it's definitely possible to search it by the text there. So if you know that the text of the question, then
Okay.
you can like search using the text of that question. So like just for example, if I search this, then it would highlight this. Okay, and that way you can search by the question.
Okay. I think I only tried by node ID, not really realizing that they weren't
Yeah,
included in.
so it's
Okay.
a normal web page, so you can use browser search feature
Okay.
to kind of search through.
Thank you.
And also like if at any point in time you want like what's the node ID of this particular question for any reasons, you can like click on this, like open a new tab, and it would open that particular node in the template. Okay, uh, so it will just show you. Yeah, so it opened that node in the template format. Okay,
Okay. Thank
so
you.
I think you can use this each of these numbers have the links as well. So if you click on it, it will take you to the template, the respective node in the template.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions, Mariam?
No, I think those were the only ones that I had at the moment.
Okay, no problem. So the next, I would just check if my Google form has any questions. Sorry. No questions, no problem.
One point
Sure.
that I've been starting to think about, but not really spending much brain power on it. While our survey will be live in Q1 of 2022, I will most likely be going on annual leave because that's the downtime for the survey. But just in case anything goes wrong or participants have questions or anything like that, there will be some people on the team that I'll
Yeah.
be training to use the basics of ProBench. So would I add them as managers, or what would you recommend?
Yeah. So if you want them to kind of access the complete system, uh, like everything, then you can kind of add them as a manager, or so to say like the administrator when it comes to the roles. Okay, so just by giving administrator, they would get access to all the functionalities in ProBench. Okay, but if you want to have them targeted access, like only they should be able to go and change the template, or they should only go and visit or access the data, then if you want them to only access this menu items like access data or data sets, then you can just select reporting manager. If you want them to access surveys and templates, etc., you can select either of them. If you only want them to go into some of the companies and view the responses, but not to change any responses, then you can give them read-only managers. Okay, so like you can go through like each of the roles are mentioned in this help document, and what all menu items they would able to access. is like given by the list. So based on how and what you want those users to access, you can like assign them that particular role. So it's not necessary to select all of them or multiple of them. You can just select one administrator and they'll get all the access.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
Cool. All right, Mariam, just do you have any questions when it comes to ticketing system, like the support system that we have in place? Any doubts about them, which we can
Um,
cover in this call?
I'm I'm just trying to think, but uh, should I, when a ticket is resolved, should I be doing something to close the ticket or something like that? Because I think I know Compassion has a lot of tickets going at the moment.
Right.
So I feel like something has been resolved. What should I be doing?
Yeah. So when suppose, I mean, I'm just giving an example and not do anything. But when you are on that ticket and you feel that everything is working fine as per your expectations, when you edit, so wherever you basically find this status, okay, you will find an option called as closed. Okay. So you can just go and close that ticket from there, and it doesn't matter like whom you have assigned it to. You can just close the ticket completely. So so what we would do from our side is we would mark it as resolved, or we would have given you a feedback if we think that we have answered your question, or we have solved any bug that you have raised or any new task that you have added, then we would mark it as resolved. So once it is marked as resolved, you can if you are happy, then you can just close the ticket from your end. So you will be having this closed option with you, so you can do it from there.
Okay, I will go through the tickets next week and
Sure.
check them and close them because, as I said, I know I have a lot open at the moment.
Sure. And if at all, like this is like regularly quite some of our users do it, is like when we assign the ticket to you or any users. So, and if you have any further questions for us to look into, okay, then in that case, I think the best part is to change the status to feedback, and then assign it back to one of the team members, maybe who has assigned the ticket to you previously. You can assign it back to them, so that it's in back in our radars. Otherwise what happens is like if it's not assigned to us, then what we think is like it's assigned to you and you are looking into it. There's nothing that we need to look at. So we normally don't go on each of the tickets and see if you have updated the tickets. So it's always good practice to kind of assign it back to one of the team members, so that we can again go back and look at it. So just uh, so that's a best practice that otherwise like we might miss some of your updates. So that is something that you need to take care of.
Thank you for explaining. At the moment, I've just been replying, not aware of this part.
Right. Okay. Okay. Sure. So yeah. So in that case, it would be useful. So and like just as we are discussing on the ticketing system, also like when you are creating the tickets, uh, the best thing is to like if it is something like making changes uh, to the template or scoring, or maybe you want to have a data set created, you want something output in Excel or something which is not related to development, or there is nothing related to some functionality not working correctly. Then in that case what you need to do is like whenever you create a new issue, okay, make sure you select it as operation service. okay, in the first place, because that's what is the name of the team, like operations team, who work on the templates and things, and then assign it to the operations team here. Okay, do not leave this assignee as blank. Otherwise, again, like, because it is not assigned to us, it would be like somewhere in vacuum, where no one is looking into the ticket if it's not assigned to us. Okay, so that's absolutely fine. Another good practice is also provide the due date if at all you have any. Okay, so that we know how and when to schedule, because then it would have a due date. Okay, so we know that this is the deadline, so we can plan things accordingly. So due date can also be used in this case. uh,
Okay.
if you have any deadlines approaching nearby, uh, or you have certain things in mind, like you want to start testing by say next week, then in those cases you can have a deadline of, or a due date of that particular date. If it would be not possible for us to meet that deadline, then someone from the team would inform you, and then we can kind of discuss the next best date on which that can be delivered.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. All right. I would just like to take one more point when it comes to user management. Mariam, this might help you when the system is live. So normally when the users registers into the system, okay, there are certain complaints that they are not able to log in, or they have clicked on forgot password but are not receiving the email. So in all those cases, like it just happened with me yesterday for one of our users, and so when I went into the system, what you first need to do is like you got to go to user management and logins, and the first thing that you need to check is like whether that user exists in this list. Okay, so if that user does not exist in this list, that means they have not registered at all onto the system. Okay, so you may want to ask them to register first. Okay, so that is one indication that they have not registered and they are just raising some false alarm. So there is no problem with the system in that case. Okay, so so that is one thing that you can ask them to register. The second thing is like you can create the login by yourself, like go to create new login, add the details of the user, add means details, assign them to the relevant company to which they belong, and create the ticket, or so create the login. Okay, now when you create it, the main problem that we might have is like we have to assign the passwords ourselves. Okay, so what happens in that case is like we might not want to kind of have an access to their password, or maybe want not like to share the password in an email due to security reasons. So in that case, what you can do is you can not share the password, don't share the password. Okay, just share the email address which you have used to register. Ask them to go and click on forgot password when they kind of uh, try to log in. Okay, so in that case what happens is they would get an email with the passwords. So that is one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is like send them an activation email. So when you click on this and click on update, they would get an activation email, but in this activation email they would not have the credentials in place. So in that case you would still have to send them an email. So the best way to do is like send them an email, ask them to use forgot password, and they'll receive an email. Now suppose they come to you saying that they have not received the forgot password email. Okay, and they need to log in, so they need a password. Okay, so whenever they use forgot password, there is like this forgot password key that is automatically generated. So when you kind of uh, let me see if there are any users Okay, so when you click on this user, or whenever they've used forgot password, the forgot password key would be having this uh, password here. You can directly share this password with them on an email separately. There's no need to create a separate password here. Just share this unique password code to them, and they will then be able to log in into the system, so that you do not have to create uh, the passwords yourself. So this is a way where you can handle those requests about forgot password, or uh, users do not receive the emails of forgot password. So in that case, you can share this keys with them. So that is something that I wanted to share. So yeah, hi Suyan, welcome to the call.
Hi, Gautam. Sorry, it was another call that ended
No
late just
problem,
now.
no problem. So you have any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to check because I think when I update the scores in the survey template,
Right,
then Anisha told me I needed to click on the calculator button outside.
right.
Is that new? Because I don't remember that.
That's not new. That was there, but it was always like we used to do it. So that's a good question. Let me cover that up. So what happens normally is like, if the scores are set up uh, before the companies get into the system, okay, then what happens is whenever the companies provide their responses, uh, the scores are automatically recalculated. So the default way of scoring that Probench has. So it is automatically calculated whenever the new responses are saved to the system. Okay. Now that suppose like probably in your case, like the companies have already submitted. Okay. And now you are going and modifying any scores into the template. Then in that case, like because the scores have changed, uh, uh, all the companies so all the companies would be impacted, right? The scores for all the companies needs to be changed based on the new scorings that you have changed in the template. So for that reason, what we have recently, not recently, but it's there, I think since a year now. So what can be done is there is an option of calculate scores here. So against each survey, you will find like this is like I'm on like survey and manage surveys. And then on the list of whatever survey you want to recalculate, you can click on that calculator button, and in the background system would automatically calculate the scores based on the recent changes for all the companies. So you will see the list of companies coming one by one. Okay, so I'll just do it here because not here, but
Sorry, I think you're still on the compassion button
yeah,
and
yeah,
participants is confidential. Sorry.
sorry, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I'll go to manage surveys, and here when I click on uh, thing, so you'll get lists like this. Okay, so if there are 150 companies, you will see a list of 150 companies going one by one. So the scores are being calculated in the background, and this there will be a done in the end. Okay, so uh, that means that the scores of all the companies are calculated with the updated scoring template. Does that answer your question, Swen?
Yep. Then only I can run my data set, right?
Yes, yes. So the latest scores in the data set would only appear after this step has been taken.
Okay. And then
So
Anisha said it
yeah,
doesn't work on Chrome.
yes, there is a bit of browser compatibility issue with this functionality. So it works best with the Firefox, because in Chrome it stops at about 40 or 50 companies. And after that, it does not recalculate the score. So better to go for Firefox, and then it calculates for all the companies.
Okay, thanks. It's clear now.
Yeah, and also like it's not necessary to go through one node at a time and recalculate all of them. Make all the changes at one time. whatever changes you want to make, and then you can calculate all scores. So that's how. So it's not necessary to have a one-on-one thing like change one node and change or recalculate scores. So yeah.
And then when in the survey template, once I update the scores, there's no save button. It just automatically will be saved already, right?
Yes, yes. So any text changes or any score changes like or any question type changes, it saves it automatically. The save button only appears when you change the structure of the survey template. Okay, so if you move the question from one place to another, or you add a question, or you delete a question, so in those cases the save button would appear on the top, and at only at that point in time you need to click that save button. Otherwise, on normal changes the save button would not appear, so you do not have to worry. So whenever there is a need, the button appears. If there is no need, the button does not appear.
Okay.
Cool.
So even if I leave I'm on the survey template page and I leave it open, I don't need to go out of it, right? As long
No,
if it's
that's
open.
not necessary.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. So the only thing, like as you have asked this question, one thing I would like to point out is like whenever you are making changes, or when you make any text changes or uh, uh, data type, question type changes, or score changes, whatever changes you make, and you want that those changes to be reflected in the front end, so it would not immediately reflect. Okay, just because that there is kind of a maker checker to make sure that unless it is verified, it's not kind of done. So what whenever you are done with all the changes, the best thing to do is you can go and rebuild that page if you are on that page, or you can click on rebuild all pages. Okay, so what it would do is it would all the front end or display changes that you have done, like question text changes or option changes, question type changes, or uh, structural changes that you have done, it would only reflect on the front end when you click on rebuild all page or rebuild page. Rebuild all pages is like it would go through all the pages on the survey and rebuild them. So that's useful in case you have done changes to multiple pages. But if you have only done changes to one of the pages, then you can just go to one page and click on rebuild page, and at that point in time it would rebuild the page completely new, and it would display the changes that you have done. So after template changes, this rebuild page is a bit important, because otherwise the things comes from cache, and cache would not be updated, and you might feel that the changes are not being reflected. So this is something that you need to take care when you are making template changes.
So this is a participants page, right?
Yes, yes.
So if I rebuild page, I don't have to go to every single participant,
No,
right?
no, it would do it for all of them. So don't worry about going it to all the participants and making the change, because there is like from the background, there is the code is same, right? So if you rebuild it for one, it would automatically rebuild for or display the new ones for the others, because you are basically cleaning the cache in the background, and asking the system to get the new template or new structure. So if it is done for one participant, it would be done for all of them.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Not on my end.
All right. So, and any questions about data set or anything?
No, I think I'm quite good at data set. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay. Maybe for a data set. Sometimes when
Maybe.
we run, it has errors, but then when let's say I ask Anisha to run, it's okay. It doesn't come up with errors on her side. So is it something to do with my side? Like I'm not close enough, like I'm too far from the server, that some connection issue or
No, I don't think so. That could be the case. Means any details of any errors that you can remember of, like what kind of error that you get?
Mm,
Has this
no,
happened recently, or did it happen in the past?
it happened recently because,
Okay.
okay, I didn't change much in the data set. What happened was the company name was before the user ID. So I just wanted to move the user ID to be before the company name. So I changed that in the data set, in the editor, the advanced editor.
Right.
And then I update, and then I ran. And then there was some error came out. It's like a lot of lines of errors, like this fields, I don't know. And then so I asked Anisha if she can help me run, and I didn't make any changes except for that. Like I told her that, and then she said okay. Then she ran, and it's okay. But a few times when we ran, sometimes the run does not complete. It just goes on and on and on. It's just stuck at 0%.
Right. That is something that is there with the textile exchange specifically. So we are investigating why, and it happens randomly. So like to
Okay.
reproduce it, it's a bit of a difficult time. But when it comes to errors, I think if at all means if it is happening like once it does not run and then you asked Anisha and then the things run automatically, maybe like from your end what you can try the first hand is like if there is an error, go back to advanced editor, click on update once again, and then try to generate again. Sometimes what happens is like because of the traffic on the server, the update process does not complete, or maybe like due to any network issues at your end, or maybe the update does not complete itself, and then you might get some error. So in those cases, like just once at least, go back to advanced editor, click on update, and then try to generate and see if it is generating. Otherwise, like obviously like I would actually need the exact error message to kind of help you out. So maybe like you can, like next time whenever that happens, you can note down that error message, and then we can kind of I can guide you through to just understand what that error message means. However, we are already trying to make those error messages as user friendly as possible, but yeah, because it's kind of a complex thing, it would take a bit of time, but yeah, but till then, if you have any such doubts, you can kind of either email us or raise a ticket to just understand what that error means.
Okay. I think so. From what you're saying is, I can try to run it again, update, and then run it again. Doesn't
Yes,
work, maybe wait a while and then try again and see if it works.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe updating again would kind of you can go to advanced editor, update again, and then try to generate. Okay, might be it would fix, most of the times it would fix, but if it still does not fix, then obviously you'll have to come to us. Like maybe there is like so one thing is like if survey ID is not at the top and it's at the bottom or somewhere, then that might be an issue, because this survey ID field is used throughout the data sets here. So one uh, necessary point is whatever fields that we used in the sequence, eh, the other fields that we have used inside should be there on top of that field. So there might be like survey ID issue, or the other issue that might happen is like if the additional filters that you might have added, like here and the additional filters, that might have some error, and due to that it would then reflect for all the fields, it would show error for all the fields. So if that is the case, then you can like check the additional filters once. uh, so these are few of the things that you can look for.
Yeah. Okay.
I've thought of another question.
Sure.
So in the past training sessions, you went over how we can edit questions in the survey ourselves.
Yes.
But so on our surveys, you'll aware, we also have a glossary that goes with certain terms. Let's say we find a typo in one of the definitions. Can we change those ourselves? Because just changing a typo would be more effective for us
Yes.
to do it ourselves rather than going through you. So how would we go about doing that?
All right. Can I go to the template of compassion?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, I just all right. Yeah. So if you see these definitions on the top, right? Like for each of the sections, there is this definition on the top here. So all the definitions or glossaries that you're talking about is mentioned in here. Okay. So if there is a typo, just go and modify it here. And once you get out of, so just I'll not, I'll change it back. So when I come out, you'll get this loading. So that means it is saved. Okay. So this change would then reflect in your glossary when you do a rebuild page. Okay. So
Right.
I'll just remove it back and come out of it. So it would then show you the loading. So this is how you can go. So this definition is there for each of the sections, I guess. So you can go through that definition yourself. You can make changes. If you want to add, even you can add it. Like this is a table. You can like when you go here and click on tab, it would add this row here. Okay. So you can add one of the similarly. So this would be the words that would be highlighted. Okay. And this would be the definition would be which would be displayed on hover. So that's how it is. So it's in a tabular format, key value pair. Okay. So you can try it yourself there.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you said we have to rebuild the page for this
Yeah.
to
So
update.
yeah, so yes. So
Okay.
once you change this, you have to go to that particular page and rebuild as I just showed you. So it would be there under the manager and then rebuild or rebuild all pages.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was the only option to rebuild the page or
Yeah,
if it was possible straight from the template. Okay, thank you.
sure. Anything else, Suyan, Madam? All right. Thank you so much, both of you, for asking all the questions. So I'll kind of drop an email about our next session, which would not be in the next week, but maybe after that. But I'll drop an email, whatever the session is, and then we can catch back again. And if you have any suggestions on what session should be there next, if you want a detailed walkthrough of anything, just drop me an email. Then we can have that as a part of our next session. Yep.
Thank you
Thank.
for answering all my
No
questions.
problem. No problem. Thank you so much. Thanks
For your time,
everyone.
Patam.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.